with the heels here. Big favorites today against Georgetown, 10.5-point favorites, and they handled business, 81-61 over the incoming Georgetown Hoyas. Justin, you'll get the honors here. This just felt like a pretty complete win from North Carolina. What were your takeaways from this one?
I think this year, which is crazy how it flips from years prior, but this year, majority of the games that North Carolina goes into, I'm confident that the front line is going to be able to win that battle. I think for me, the question mark kind of going into different games is kind of what does the backcourt do? And I think for me, we're kind of seeing, which I've been saying since summer, whenever I went back there and got a chance to play some pickup and just kind of be around the guys. I think we're seeing slowly but surely a guy in Derek Dixon kind of step into I'm not going to say like the starting and number one point guard role, but stepping into a role that could just grow and get bigger and bigger as the season goes on. And so for me, that was the most, encouraging thing to see from that North Carolina. Obviously, Georgetown just kind of outmatched. I mean, it's tough when you play against a team like North Carolina where you've got Caleb Wilson and Henry Vasar on the inside. You got to be able to hit shots from the outside, and 4 for 23 is not necessarily going to do it. So, I guess we'll see once North Carolina is able to get fully healthy and get all their guys back.
Yeah, RC, obviously this was it felt like a pivotal year. Every year when you're at a blue blood is pivotal, as Mark Pope is finding out. But this felt like a really crucial year for him and the trajectory. And again, we're not an ACC play yet, so I don't want to go overboard, but it does, 9 games into this season, RC, it looks like Hubert's got some real stability with this group. At least that's how it looks to me. What are you seeing?
I think we all agree that the talent is there. We see it. I think Seth Trimble is more important than people give him credit for, because I think his ability to put the ball in his hand, play point. I think Kyan Evans is a little better with the ball off the ball. I think he's struggling a little bit trying to manage everything. I think getting him off the ball will allow his offense and his jump shot to come around a little bit. But Derek Dixon he's earned a spot in the rotation. Like, let's call it what it is. I mean, there's no more going back to the bench. I mean, he's going to play 20 minutes a game. So wherever it comes from, it comes from. So and that's the weakness of Carolina. Everyone's concerned about the backcourt. Getting Seth back, and now what Dixon has been able to establish does well. But I think the critical thing for Carolina is, like we talked about, they had to get off to a good start, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
This was the job everybody was going to talk about. If they stumbled out of the gate and hadn't beaten anybody, if they had lost, Kentucky, or they had lost whatever, it would just have been, everybody would have just been like, hey, Hubert's got to go. So
Yep.
give him credit. They've answered the bell. I know you know this, Justin, as a Carolina grad. I mean, everybody was kind of all eyes on Hubert this year, man. And to quiet the noise, they needed to get off to a quick start, a good start. I think they're good. I think they'll be really good in ACC play. I think they've been one of the more consistent teams in the ACC in a much improved league. I think Duke and Carolina, picked to finish 1 and 2, have looked apart.
Yeah, Justin, in terms of just, I obviously every year at Carolina, the goal is to compete for a championship. Some years that's more possible than others, just the way it works. But when you look at this team, and again, it's early, and you talked about Seth Trimble, he's not in that lineup yet. When he comes back, is this team, are we going to be talking about this team for a championship?
I was bold enough to say, I mean, this was a top 10 team when fully healthy. Obviously, before Seth got hurt. I think one thing that you can sit there with a guy like Seth, right? Obviously, Caleb Wilson's getting all of the hype, which he should, and probably more. But with a guy like Seth Trimble, he does literally everything for the team, right? And when I say that, it's defensively, he'll guard and usually wins the matchup against the best player on the other team. Offensively, I think what North Carolina is hurting from right now without having Seth is really the only guy on the perimeter that can get downhill and put pressure on the rim whenever he wants to, without a play being drawn up, without, a pick and roll happening, whatever it is. Seth's really the only guy on the perimeter that can create that type of advantage. And so Now you bring him back into the fold, and you still have those two guys down low. You've got guys like, RC is talking about with the, Kyan Evans being more of a, hopefully being able to be more of a spacer, a guy like Derek Dixon coming out. Now you've got a guy that you've got shooting and spacing around, but can get to the rim whenever he wants to. I think that gives this, obviously a team that's had a huge win in Rupp, had some big wins to start the season off. It adds a totally different dynamic to this team that we haven't fully been able to see yet. So that's what I think, when he comes back, I'm most excited to kind of see how everything gels together.
Most definitely. By the way, RC, you're a DMV guy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know you didn't go to Georgetown, but you're a DMV guy. I'm an old school guy. I like college basketball better when Georgetown is good. It's been a minute. And obviously, this was Georgetown's first real road game of the season. So my expectations were pretty low. But just in terms of, do you feel like watching Georgetown this year that Ed Cooley's trajectory there is pointing upward?
I think it's still pointing up. I mean, I'm not soured on Georgetown. I think everybody expected Georgetown to kind of, when we first got the job, we heard of like the NIL deal, and we were like, oh man, it's going to flip quick. I think since then the market's changed as well. And I think he's, I believe in Ed Cooley still. I don't think it's probably not as fast as everybody would like, I'd say. But this team to me it's going to go as far as KJ Lewis and Malik Mack take it. They're going to have, they're going to rely a lot on those guards tonight. They struggled. You knew they would with the length of Carolina's front line, having two guys that can provide some rim protection. So for those guys, the issue with Georgetown is going to be scoring. Man, they're tough. I think they're not going to face as many front lines capable of giving you 20 and 15 like Wilson and Vassar is. So
Yep.
their issue is going to be, can they make shots, man? Georgetown's going to be, to me, as good as they're going to be. They're going to be coached well. They're going to compete. I just don't know how well they're going to score. They'll always have a puncher's chance in that league to me. I think it's UConn, St. John, and I think they'll be in a mix fighting for third, fourth, or fifth.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to St. John's. But just before we move to Kansas, Missouri, Justin, did you have a thought just watching Georgetown, on the other side of that game today, just their makeup and, can they be that third place team in the Big East or better? I mean, is that possible?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit before we got on here. I mean, all Ed Cooley teams, I remember he was at Providence whenever I was at school. Like all the teams that he coaches are, they're going to be gritty, hard-nosed, physical, play hard. That's the identity that he puts into teams. Going 4 for 23, shooting 17% from the three-point line in these kind of games, I think is where, to kind of RC's point, like you have to be better from the shooting aspect of things and scoring. So, if guys like KJ Lewis and Mac are able to carry that load and other guys are able to kind of step in and maybe make a few more shots here and there, I think obviously the trajectory is for sure going up with a coach like Ed Cooley and, guys like that. But I guess we'll just kind of see, if the team is capable of doing that offensively. And if they are, then, who knows?
All right. On